GingerGM.
Well, hi everyone. I'm going to play a long play game now. I've just been waiting to find someone. So we're going to dive into the action. And of course, you may be aware of these long play games which I've done. The whole idea is for me to explain the concepts of a Grandmaster. So that's precisely what I'm going to do. And I'm playing someone from China. Fingers crossed I haven't found a... well, let's say a cheat. I mean, the fact that my opponent is not a full-time member could be a problem. And in future, I need to certainly play against some of you guys because you get a better game. But even if my opponent is a cheat, which I'm not saying he is, I've got no evidence to do that, but I've come across, this is still pretty, I think, should we say, educational, because I can still tell my ideas and explain what I'm thinking. Now, the game has started with d4 g6, and I've played this favourite move of mine, h4, Harry 4, and this is something I often do when my opponent plays g6. It gives me a target to attack. Now, I'm in a bit of an aggressive mood today, so I think I'm going to play super aggressively. Now, my opponent's gone here with the idea that if I push on, he can go knight takes pawn, and then I won't be able to do anything. But I generally think this might not be such a bad sacrifice, because I give up Harry, and poor old Harry must be so sick of me, the amount of times I've given him up. But in return, I'm going to get an open H file. I don't know why my opponent's moving so slowly. Oh, it's a bit of a danger. Why is he? Why? Come on, Houdini. Tell me what move you want. Come on, Houdini. Or maybe he's getting his chess base out. Who knows? Oh God. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't mind if I lose to a cheat. Well, I do, but we're not. I'm not saying that. So what's the idea? Well, I give up Harry, and in return, I'm going to put 2 pawns in the centre of the board. So I get 2 pawns in the middle. I couldn't do that last move because I don't want to lose a central pawn. Harry I sacrifice all the time. So in return for a pawn, I get 2 central pawns. I've got an open H-file. Later on, if he castles kingside, I'll certainly use that to attack. So I'm trying to put him off castling. You know, I have ideas of bishop H6 later on, and normal attacking ideas. Now, my opponent's played D6, a sensible move. And I'm just going to concentrate on my development now, because I'm not going to be able to generate an attack without development. I mean, I could play a move like bishop E2, forcing that knight away, but the knight's going to come back here anyway to F6 when it's going to be attacking my pawn on E4. So it makes sense for me to move my knight. I mean, I'm vaguely considering whether I can play rook takes H5 and give up more material, but that might be a step too far. Still an interesting move, but I think I'm just going to concentrate on development. And we got kind of a normal perk here, but it's quite interesting. And if my opponent ever moves his knight back to F6, well, he's wasted a couple of moves, hasn't he, moving his knight about. I mean, you could say I've wasted a couple of moves moving my pawn, but at least I've opened up the H-file. So I think this is a very interesting opening. Interesting way to play. Okay, so my opponent, sensible development from him. And now bishop E2, forcing knight here is always an option. But I don't want to force that. I mean, I think I'm going to castle queenside here, aren't I? I mean, obviously I don't want to castle kingside because it kind of loses any advantage that this open H-file had. So I need to move my bishop and my queen out the way. And there's a very typical way of doing this. So I'm going to go bishop E3 and queen D2 and castles queenside. It is the normal way of playing this position. I mean, I'm still very tempted to go rook takes H5, especially now that I've got a bit of development. If I take there and take with my queen on H5, you know, that I know I'm an exchange down, but it was Bronstein, one of the best players ever to not become world champion, who actually said to me, I had the honour of meeting Bronstein, that in the early part of the game, it's actually better to not have to give up your rook, to have the extra knight or bishop, because in the early part of the game, the knights and bishops enter into the battle quicker. It's only later on where the rooks are actually outweighed the knights or bishops. So, you know, a move like rook takes h5, followed by bringing my queen in, and then aiming for f7, either with a knight coming to g5 or a bishop to c4 is not crazy. But I don't want to do that if I'm going to be losing my d4 pawn. I don't think. So let's just have a look. I mean, for example, if I go rook takes h5, pawn takes, queen takes, knight takes d4, you know, I can claim some compensation with castling, but I've given up a lot of material there. And I don't, again, you know, it looks a little bit too much to me. So with this move, normally that indicates that the opponent wants to play e5 and then some knight to d4 move. This is something always to watch out for. Now, I could play d5, then he'll probably go knight e5. And then I could try bishop e2 there. That looks like a quite tempting way to play. Or I could go bishop e2 first. And I'm going to play bishop e2 first because it develops piece and it gives me more options. I mean, I want him to move his knight to f6. You know, otherwise I'm going to take that, get my pawn back and hopefully gain some initiative. So he's moved his knight back. And now, of course, I don't have to play d5, but I do. If I do, it gives me another option. But, I mean, the thing is, you can overextend these pawns quite a lot. You know, these pawns can overextend. And my pawn on d5 can be a target later on to c6 or e6. And his knight may well be heading to the g4 square. So what else can I be thinking here? Well, he wants to play e5. This is the thing. And I don't really want him to play that. Maybe I should have gone bishop b5 last move and just taken this knight off. I mean, I could go knight to f3, but then he's going to put something on g4, probably a bishop on g4. That's quite interesting because I can then push, and then if knight here, I take on e5, and if he takes here, I take with a pawn maybe, and I have f4 coming. That's actually quite interesting. So knight f3, developing my last piece, is the move I'm favouring. Let's just check other options. d5, again, is quite forcing, so we should look at that. Knight to here. And then I've got to stop his knight coming to this square. I don't like d5 so much. And otherwise, I want to stop e5. If I could just go queen d2 here, and he didn't have e5, I'd play it. But queen d2, e5. And then, well, I don't want to take because he takes with his pawn. The queen's come off. And if I go pawn on knight d4, and I can win my pawn back, but I lose my dark square bishop. So I think this is certainly the move I'm going to play because I'm trying to make sure I control d4. Because the whole point is, if he goes e5, I go d5. And if knight d4, then I can keep my dark square bishop by taking with my knight on d4. You don't want to lose your dark square bishop for either colour for a knight in these positions. This is really horrible thing to do. It will weaken my opponent's king if he does that. And for me, it will just weaken all my dark squares. It's not worth it, even if I gain a pawn, because then I can also not attack him. I need this bishop in order to attack him. For example, if he castles, I need to be able to go bishop h6. So, I mean, maybe my opponent can also go knight to this square now. Knight to g4 might be a possibility as well. And that's quite annoying because then he's trying to win my dark square bishop. And I don't know if I have a good square to put this then. That knight g4 move, I think, is a good move, actually. Yeah, I mean, this is the move I'm mostly worried about now. Knight here. And, well, I mean, I have to say, that is such a computer move. Again, I don't know if I should be claiming this, but how many humans would castle kingside here? I mean, most humans would go knight g4. That just strikes me as such a bizarre move. Okay, well, here, I'm going to continue my plan. And my plan was always to go d5. And if he goes knight e5, I'm going to take that knight and I'm going to try to go queen d2, bishop h6, swap the bishops off, get my queen in there, checkmate. And you may have seen I've had a number of games like that. I think castles, even if it's the computer's top choice, is just not the right move there. I mean, you know, I'm not claiming he is a computer. I just, you know, I'm very suspicious nowadays through experience, which maybe I shouldn't be. But a much scarier move would have been knight g4 last move, when I really would have had to move my bishop, I think. Otherwise I don't ever have an attack. And where do I move my bishop? My bishop didn't have many good squares. If it goes to f4 in that last line, he probably had e5. Maybe I can do that. If it went to g5, maybe he had h6 or f6. So now I'm much happier. So I'm going to take his knight. My moves are quite straightforward here. And I'm going to go queen d2. And you can see now why giving up the h-pawn can have a lot of benefits. This is a very simple plan. The combination of the open h-file, bishop and queen is often just you know, a really powerful idea. And you have the simple idea of going bishop h6, taking here, getting rid of the defender, bringing the queen in, and eventually trying to checkmate the opponent on h7. And of course this is worth a pawn, especially now as we're going to have opposite side castling, because I'm clearly going to castle queenside here, because, well, you know, it'd be absolutely stupid to castle kingside. I'd lose all my attacking panache. So I'm going to do that. But do I play bishop h6 first? Yes, I do, because this is like clockwork attack. Because now, if he takes on d5, I have bishop takes f6, queen h6 check, and knight takes d5. Because one defender my opponent has, the knight on f6, is a key defender in these types of positions. You get this in the dragon, the perk, the king's Indian. You get it in numerous openings where black fianchettos. And in these openings, that knight is a key defensive piece towards h6. And that's why I'm very happy for him to take here at the right moment, as long as I can take with my knight and get rid of a key defender. But so far, this attack working, well, I'd say extremely well. I mean, I'd be very confident having this position in a real game. And, you know, after this game, I will look through everything again. I should also tell you, I've got my GingerGM t-shirt on. If you go to gingergm.com now, we are actually stocking these t-shirts and mugs. So you can get a mug with my face on, oh god, or my cartoon face, and we got a bit of a range in the shop, and I'll show you that after the video. It's in the swag section. Okay, right. Well, I'm gonna continue with what seems like a very simple plan. I'm gonna take here. I'm gonna try to move my queen in here and take on d5. So I'm not entirely sure what my opponent's idea here is. Is he going to play a move like d4 here? What's his idea? I mean, it's very peculiar that my opponent is 1993, which is a very good rating in this time limit, because it's very peculiar that he's this high, which is high, and he's playing some very moves which I don't think a human would play, but also it's too weak for a computer to play. So I don't know what's going on, and he's moving very slowly as well. I mean, it confuses me what's happening, because my plan is so simple. Well, what can he do? I mean, if he goes d4, well, okay, let's just continue with this. What should be? I don't see how he's going to defend now. Knight takes d5, and you know, maybe he can go rook here and defend like this, but my attack is so strong. And of course, if he takes on d5, we can see how Harry helps. I can take here. Now, okay, so I need to now work out if I've got a win, because his king is running here. It's not maybe all over quite yet, but it should be a very strong attack. So if I take here, takes, check, he can run king here. And don't know if I have a follow-up there. Now, I could castle queenside here. That looks very natural to me. Let's do that, because I'm just wondering if he takes there, and then I take there. So no, he can't do that. I'm gonna castle. I mean, okay. It looks very natural for me to get my rook lined up. It's funny because when his queen does come to f6, he gets quite a decent defensive position. The queen defends all these lines, so the position's not as completely winning as I would assume it should be. I mean, of course, I should be a lot better here. I mean, but I'm just going to need to do a bit of calculation. I mean, okay, let's say he plays a move. I don't think he can take on e4 because, well, he can't. I have check and checkmate. But what if he plays a move like bishop e6? Or, you know, something like that. That bishop e6 would be a move that I should now calculate. Always use your opponent's time to calculate. Don't let your brain drift. If you're in a real tournament situation, you know, you've got to use your opponent's time to calculate. So, okay, so bishop here. I mean, I could also, you know, potentially just move my pawn up the board. Try to get my pawn to g5. Do I have a good knight move there? If bishop e6, I mean, something like knight b6 is okay. Can he then maybe sacrifice with pawn takes here? I take here and he takes here. He gets a bit of compensation now. It's still better, but it's, again, not entirely clear. Well, what about bishop e6? Do I have a move like queen h4? Trying to force this to move. Well, then he goes knight h5, and I can't checkmate him. So bishop e6, there should be a very strong move for me there, but I can't see it at the moment. Knight e3, queen to e7. How does that help? I'm not sure. So of course he's played the only move. Now knight here wins the queen, but I kind of want more. And if I go g4, or do I have bishop here keeping control? Trying to keep control, should we say. Bishop c4, just trying to get my piece in. No, I don't like that so much. Well, this position should certainly be better than it is. It's really weird. I don't understand what's happened. I mean, knight b6 is maybe the way I should play this. Then I think he has to sacrifice his queen. Pawn takes, rook takes d8. Let's say rook takes d8, a3, and then he can't, well, he could take there, but I should be able to check him and come round. So that maybe knight b6 is the best move here. I just want to consider other options. g4. Let's say bishop takes d5, pawn takes d5. Can he stop me going g5? And does g5 do anything? So let's have a look there. Well, he's got knight here, takes here, check, here, check. Very big attack there. You know what? I think simple is good. So knight b6. I just want to keep it simple at this moment. So knight b6 will force him to give up his queen, because otherwise I'm going to win the exchange, and that should be good. And let's keep it simple. This move keeps it simple. I think he really has to go a takes b6 now. Let's just keep it simple. Simple is good. Simple is good. And this move, because I couldn't see a way to break through by taking there. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I had a stronger move somewhere. Okay, well, he hasn't given up his queen. That surprises me. So I'm obviously now going to take this one. And here, I'm very tempted to now continue with the aggressive move, g4, just trying to go g5. Am I worried about his queen coming in anywhere? Queen here or here. Doesn't have any threats because I've got g5. Maybe he takes there. I check. I win the rook on a8. This must be correct. I'll continue with the most aggressive move. And again, I'm just trying to find another way now to dislodge his knight on f6. He can't take on g4 because I've got this and mate, and it's handy having a bishop here in this structure, because when I go g5, a very typical way that black often defends is by putting the knight on h5, but of course with a bishop on e2, I don't even have to consider rook takes h5. I can just whip off the knight on h5 with my bishop. So we might as well keep the pressure on my opponent, and now he's trying to grovel with his queen, and the ending is going to be extremely good for me, but I surely want more than a good ending in this position. Well, g5, queen takes queen, rook takes queen, knight d7, and if rook h1, knight f8 holds things together. If I keep the queen on, queen to h4, queen g7, he grovels. If I go queen to h2 and just try to pick this pawn up, why don't we do that? I might as well try to take as many pawns as I can for the ending. Queen h4, knight d... Oh no, queen h4, queen g7 I was worried about, wasn't I? And, well, you know, there's no immediate breakthrough there. So, I think this is probably... Well, here he can still go queen here, can't he? And if I take here, he has knight takes here. Then I can swap off and just try to win this ending then. But I give him the h-pawn, so... queen here, queen here. He's just about defends, so... Okay, I'm gonna play this one. This just seems to be a decent move to play. Again, I may have stronger, but I'm just trying to keep things reasonably simple. Now, the thing, I think he should go queen here now, and the ending must be bad for him after queen takes e5, but maybe not that bad if I allow him to get this past h-pawn. I mean, you know, it's worse for him, but it's not like tragic, not tragic. So queen g7, he must defend here, so that move looks forced to me. Then I go queen takes e5, and then, well, bishop takes g4 looks suspicious. Knight takes g4. It is probably the correct way to play. And then my queen can take here, king takes there, and bishop takes here, bishop takes here. Is that ending actually that clear for me? Because his h-pawn is annoying. You know, I can go rook d3, bring my king over. It should be better for me, but it's not as much as I want. You know, so queen g7. I mean, I could also defend this pawn first and this pawn by going f3. But then I cut my bishop out, and he might be able to go something like knight here. I've got to always stop this knight getting to f4 in any ending. He's found the right move. So f3, knight d7. Can I play a tactical move like bishop c4 then? I want to get rid of his knight. This knight is strong. So the point is, if I go queen takes e5, knight takes g4, and I don't know, my queen can come back, but then I don't know. I mean, his queen's trapped at the moment. Let's play this one. Let's play this one. Because I was looking at queen takes e5. I couldn't quite get it to work. I mean, here his queen is trapped. I didn't really want to play f3 because, as I've said before, it takes away this square. So, you know, if I ever play g5 now, then his knight can come into f4. And then he'll be potentially even better in that position. So I don't want to allow that. Certainly not. And well, I'm hoping he goes knight d7, because then, oh, maybe I'm not hoping for that. I wanted to go bishop c4, but then he goes knight c5, and his knight then is starting to get to e6, and he wants his knight on e6 to come in here. But then I take over the d file. Now that must be okay. So if knight d7, bishop c4. If he takes my bishop, I take his knight. I want to get rid of that piece. And if he goes, okay, so he's done it. I thought this was correct because his knight is becoming, it wasn't very good on f6. He's trying to bring it around. But I think I've worked this out. Okay, bishop c4, knight c5. I take here. Knight takes c5. His knight's very good, but my rook can come in then. And that must be more important than his knight. I say that. His knight then, if it comes in here, I have queen to h3, and I can go c3. Okay, I think this is correct. I think I want to swap bishops. My bishop's quite bad. So, and I am material up, so simplifying must be okay. I'm going to go for this one. This must be correct. You know, you're material up. You want to swap pieces when you're material up. You want to exchange off. I want to get rid of my bishop because all my pawns or on light squares. And remember, when you have your pawns on one colour square, if it's the same as your bishop in an ending, your bishop could become a horrible piece, because my bishop would be trapped defending my pawns. My bishop can never attack my opponent's pawns, which would probably move to dark squares. So all in all, I think that was something worth avoiding. And I'm speaking very slowly. Do I have queen f2 here? Or do I want to keep my... I think I just want to take and put my rook on d7. His knight can come to d4, but then I have queen h3, and I just want to kick it away with c3. And his knight comes in here, but my rook is very good. Yeah, let's do that. Let's put my rook on d7. The open file must be must be the right thing for me. I must be putting my rook here. Okay, like I say, his knight gets some good squares, and I did mention I didn't want to allow his knight to potentially come into these squares, but you know, if I can get a rook to the 7th rank and keep my rook active, and I've got this pressure, his queen still can't. If his queen could sneak in, that's something else I want to be worried about, but as long as I keep pressure against h7, it'll be very hard for my opponent to sneak his queen in. Now, okay, he's got 2 squares. I expect he wants to move his knight. Well, I mean, maybe there's a 3rd square. Maybe g5 is actually a good square because he defends. He does defend this one then. Interesting. Maybe that is a good square. But okay, let's have a look at them one by one. Knight here was what I thought his first choice. That's, you know, I always go for my instinct first because I thought that might be a good square. But then I always have potential to play this move. And after knight there, I have 2 ideas. I have queen h4, trying to get a check here. Does that lead anywhere? Or I can just play something like queen h3 because I want to keep my queen here and aim for c3 next move. That was my main idea. I don't want to go queen f2 with knight d4 because then he might be able to wriggle out with queen f6 and his pieces come out. Okay, so he's played this passive move. I'm very happy to see that. You know, passive move, you know, that certainly puts a smile on my face. Now, very naturally, I'm thinking queen h4. I'm thinking this really without spending too much time because I can then have this rook d8 check. Oh no! Oh, I've done it again. I keep doing this. I keep doing this mouse thing. I did it yesterday in Blitz. That could have cost me. That could have cost me the whole game. I'm gonna have to. You know, I've got this bloody expensive mouse, but I still can't. Well, I mean that's a really stupid move. That's not a move. That's not a move I want to play, because now I've let knight g5 and queen f6 come in. A very frustrating move, which he didn't play, thankfully. I think he should have put his knight on g5 and tried to get his queen out. I mean, maybe I'm still better there, but it wasn't as good as it was should have been. Okay, now is this check anything? No. I'm going to play queen h4 because that's where I wanted to put my queen in the first place, because then if his knight moved, I could swap the rooks off, swap the queens off, and then it would be, I would say, fairly simple winning position for me. But okay, you know, this is still probably all right. Maybe I should be going g5, just so his queen can never come to f6. h6 is not going to go to anyway, but I don't want his queen coming to f6. Maybe I should be playing g5 here. He should play g5 then. So my opponent should play g5, because then he keeps option his queen is coming out. Now, if he does go g5, my queen has a number of squares to go to. The problem that my opponent will have, if he plays g5, imagine an ending comes about. Imagine it's just knight versus rook. That should be good for me. But if he can play h5, so imagine the queens come off, just the queens. Imagine the queens come off. If he can play h5 and I have to take on h5, he can take back with his pawn and he will get a passed pawn, which is extremely well defended by his knight. Now, positionally speaking, if he plays g5, then the queens come off, and he tries to play h5, it doesn't work. I just take it. He can't get a passed pawn. So, you know, strategically, don't you just love it when I say that? Speaking, he can't do that. G5. Okay, so now I have some ways to play this. G5 to me looks very good, because his queen is then trapped. But I've also got other ideas here. I mean, is he really threatening anything? Because he's getting in a position where he can't move much. Maybe my queen should even come into e7 now. Really tightening the knot around him. When he's running out of moves. There's a lot of tempting moves here. Queen here looks very tempting. Can he then go h6 and try to wriggle? No, I have... Oh, no. Rook takes h6. He takes with check, and it's not mate anyway. So queen here, does that really achieve anything? Well, he can't move anything, but he can't move anything anyway, can he? g5. What's my follow-up at g5? g5 I'm slightly skeptical about because it blocks my queen off. My pawn could be weak later on. So now I'm not worried about him going g5, am I, really? So maybe I should just take away some of the squares for his knights. Let's do that, shall we? Let's just take away the d4 square and not rush making a decision what I should be doing. Let's do that. Let's just take away some squares from my opponent's knights, and that's a very typical thing to do. So I'm just going to play here, controlling d4. So I don't need to, I'm being a bit lazy. It means I don't have to calculate what I'm going to do. Now g5 is probably a good move, but then again, I'm imagining at some point the queens are coming off, and my g5 pawn's a little bit weak. You know, I don't want to lose that pawn in an ending because then he gets his monster h pawn. I kind of feel that maybe the best move was queen e7 there, because then he can hardly move anything. But I'm a bit reluctant to move my queen away from here. Now, if he plays g5 here, I think I'm just going to go queen h6, and then I'm happy to go into an ending because of the reasons I discussed. He wants to have the move h5 in an ending because that's his passed pawn. And if he plays g5, he can't support that pawn push. And again, you know, another thing you need to do is always look at where the majority of pawns are. And it's clear to see that he's got majority over here. So, okay, so he's played this. Now, is he really going to go here? I think it's definitely getting time to put my queen in, because then my queen also controls b4. Okay, I wanted to play this anyway, and I'm going to play it now. I think this must be the right move. And maybe next move, I want to put my king somewhere on b1 where I avoid any checks when it gets tactical later on. This looks like a good way to play. Maybe I even play a3. Let's say a5 looks like a very natural move that my opponent could try. If a5, then maybe a3. And if he pushes, I just take, and my queen covers that square. But then he can maybe divert me and get his queen in. I don't want his queen coming in. This is something. His queen is dead. I want to keep his queen dead. So okay, so he's trying this. So do I have anything? You know, he's holding this position very well. But a3 here, he's trying to get d4 for his knight. You see, and I take, queen takes, queen f6, and you know his queen suddenly threatens here. Not ideally what I want him to do, what I want to allow him to do, because my queen's a bit funny. Then I can go rook here. Then do I have to worry about this check? King here. Maybe I shouldn't be worrying about this. Maybe I should be going a3 anyway. Otherwise, what am I actually doing here? G5, queen f6 is actually a very strong idea. Then maybe swapping queens like that, I guess. But then there's pawns. Let's play here. Let's play here. Let's try to stop him making the breaks he wants to do. I think he should gamble now. If I was him, I'd gamble. I'd push this to try to force my queen away, because when my queen goes away, he can at least get his queen out of its dungeon. Must be still better there, but it then he gets a bit of activity. So that's what I would probably be playing if I was black, because he could get in a position of Zugzwang. Now that is a move I'm actually quite happy to see, because for some reason I feel like him clearing this file should give me some possibilities. But what am I actually doing here? His knight's a very good piece. No, okay. Well, what am I doing here? Here, queen f6 feels like right to me, but I don't know what I'm actually doing there. This knight's really annoying. Maybe I should be going rook here and taking that bloody knight off. What about that for an idea? What about now? My rook's not done a great deal there. What about this little tricky move? I want him to actually move his knight, because then I can swap rooks off. And now that he's lost control of d6, I'm threatening to take the knight and then win the game immediately. So I like this move. This is a clever move, I think. Because if his knight moves, I swap the rooks off and the queens come off, and then the ending is very, very good, winning for me, because my pawns I haven't got any weak pawns. This one is the only pawn I can defend. Okay, he still has h5, but I should be able to deal with that. And if he doesn't move the knight, he's got to keep a big eye out for rook takes e6. So he can move his rook somewhere like rook to f8 there. Maybe he can do that, but that looks, maybe that's his best move, trying to keep things. Well, he's blundered, no? Okay, well, I have to apologize to my opponent because I did say he might be using a computer, so I have to apologize for him. Clearly he's not using a computer, and if he is, it's one that was made in 1970. Turing's computer, or what's that? I don't know, one of the first computer experiments. But yeah, clearly, I apologize, he's not using a computer. Phew. Or if he is, he's turned it off, or it's a crap computer, really crap computer. And after rook takes e6, well, he can resign now. I think this is extremely, well, it's just winning, isn't it? There's no need to even comment now. And the right thing to do would be to resign. And I'm not going to do much commentary on the rest of this. Take here, whatever you can take here, but I'm not too worried about that. I'm just going to move a bit quicker now, because I don't think this requires too much commentary. You know, I can still blunder here, but I've got loads of time. It'd be pretty awful if I did blunder here. And well, you know, my opponent is playing on, but okay, he's allowed to play on, so what. We'll have a look at the highlights after this of the game. I'll just show where I think the most important parts were, but you know, I've discussed most things in this game, and again, I hope this game was useful to you. Let's now just have a look at some points where I think were interesting. Well, again, look, the opening. If my opponent plays g6 earlier on, then h4 is always something I consider, because that is a target for Harry the h-pawn to attack. And this game was a perfect demonstration of Harry, really. It was a perfect demonstration of Harry doing its magic. Because, okay, I mean, Harry must hate me sometimes, because I always give him up. Bye, Harry, and a bow to Harry, the poor soldier. Brave as he is, he always sacrifices himself for the bigger cause. He's a real hero, is old Harry boy. And here, I've explained why I did this. He opens up the h-file. I've got 2 pawns in the center. Now, you know, I don't know if I maybe misplayed this somewhere, but around here, I really think that most humans, if he goes bishop here, I'll go d5, like the game, but this move was the move he surely should play, and maybe then the opening's been all right for him, because I don't want to lose my bishop, because then I can never do my bishop h6 idea. And if I move my bishop, where do I move it to? I don't want to move it here or here, too passive. If I move it to f4, he has e5. If I move it to g5, he has something like f6 or h6. Maybe I would do it there, but he should definitely have done this. I'd probably do something like this now, and ask him the question of what he's going to do. And maybe this is still okay for me, but I think he should have played this. Now, the only other thing I was wondering, I mean, it's hard for, you know, to find all the right moves, but really the rest of the game was a perfect example. He castled into the h-file. I think this is suicidal, absolutely suicidal, because after d5, and if he moves his knight back, he's losing so much time. And after he goes here, the point is my bishop now controls g4. So any move like knight to g4, I just take it. I just capture the knight. And now, well, I just put my plan into operation. Boom. So much more powerful because Harry sacrificed himself. And now, very simply, this check and knight takes here. He's only got one way to defend against knight takes knight. In here, he's got to make an escape square. And now, well, I mean, maybe castle. Maybe I should be playing g4 here immediately. Maybe this is the correct way to play. Maybe it's not so bad for him. But castles, it looks such a natural move. And now what I was mentioning here, after knight to b6, I mean, he was a lot worse in the game after this. I don't think it deserves too much commentary after this. We've already done that. But the one, if I was black here, I'd have taken my chance to have taken here. Now I take the queen, then do something like here. When I'm hoping to get some counterplay, I was going to go a3 here. And actually, materialistically, it's equal. It's equal if you count the points up. But I do have the queen, and the queen is still very annoying for him. And I still have this very simple idea of breaking the knight down and getting through to h7. And also, when you have the queen, you can just swap off pieces. Your queen is normally going to be better than the rook and the minor piece and the ending. They can't coordinate very well often. So, okay, well, all in all, interesting game. Now, I did say I was going to mention the GingerGM swag. So, let's just have a quick look at that now. And, well, that doesn't look like GingerGM swag, does it? Okay, where have you gone? Oh, there you are. So, I'll put the link to this in the description. But basically, if you go to GingerGM.com, it's pretty easy to find. And all we've done so far is put some designs in the shop. So you can see we have some designs here, and they're mostly done by Aldo. Thank you very much, Aldo. All done by Aldo. And you can get the t-shirt I'm wearing now is this one here, the one with the logo. But there's loads of other things there. And what we're going to have soon, which is a really cool feature, you can see there's a chessboard here with the thinking pose. We're going to take designs where you guys at home can give us the positions you want. So maybe you've got a gravestone checkmate, maybe you've got a favorite movie ever played, and we're going to make designs of those positions which you want on the t-shirts or mugs for you, so you get your own design made for you. And all of these, you can even got a mouse mat there. You can get a mouse mat, and you know, that's Danny Gormali there, or Danny Al Ali. Is that how you say it? Danny Ali? I don't know how you say it. Al Gormali. Don't know. But you can see this is the shop, and that is the Ginger swag at the moment. I mean, maybe another thing we'd do, quite interesting, if you guys have got designs which you think could be good for the GingerGM shop, you know, maybe send us design, and you know, we can put as much stuff, many designs in the shop as we want, and we'll try to put them up. But we'll think of some new designs as well. We'll build on that. Bit of fun if you want your GingerGM mug, or if you want your GingerGM t-shirt. And I have to say, this is a pretty comfy t-shirt, and it's come out pretty well. I mean, we're using a different company, so hopefully they can do the same quality. But I've heard Simon Ansell, who's the co-person of GingerGM, who does all the website, got his mug and t-shirt through the post, and he said they're very good quality, and he said it was a good service, and I take his word for it. We're not dealing with the distribution another company is. We've got too much going on here. So there you go. Get your GingerGM swag. And well, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in to another long play video. Nice to play someone who's not a cheat, and that game seemed to go all right. So have a good rest of the day. Bye for now.